I'm going to explain to you very quickly why the conventional input methods won't work for you. And also with some examples because you probably don't have that much attention span to just hear me and be able to understand. So, who am I to tell you this? I'm Ivan, soy un nativo del español with 47 months in English. And I'm going on a mission of remaking all of this fucked up language learning community because there's people learning languages right now with porn, there's people learning languages right now with anime, video games, and 2 years in time, they will get addicted to these methods, and this is no good, of course. Doing immersion with a less than 80% of comprehension feels like bullshit, and it is bullshit. And the problem is that Juanito comes, this is Juanito, and Juanito is you, right? Juanito comes, and Juanito says, okay, I want to learn Japanese. Oh my God, this is going to be so awesome. All of these people are telling me, oh my God, I'm going to be able to learn Japanese. I'm going to be able to learn Japanese for once and all. And the problem with this is that Juanito doesn't know actually the amount of effort that it takes to go from 30% of comprehension to 80% of comprehension while literally having like 20% or 10% of comprehension in every piece of content you watch. That's the primary problem with immersion. And there's people who say this, which is, okay, but you can repeat the content again and again and again. But then you're literally doing the same method that I'm doing, which is literally watching example sentences of that same thing, which is another point. But the point is that yes, you need repetition. You don't need to watch more things, right? More. You don't need to watch more content. You need to repeat the content that you already know. That's the primary problem that is literally holding you down right now, right? And so there's people who say that doing passive listening whenever they work, or maybe listening to the same program like 10 times, has helped them a lot. And that's true. That is basically systematic, comprehensible input. The problem is that you are not doing it on purpose. And literally with my English happens the same thing. So in systematic comprehensible input, you basically pick something that you want to learn, maybe a type of program, maybe a topic that you want to be fluent at, right? You pick those topics, you find sentences on that topic that you want to learn, you find vocabulary on that topic that you want to learn, and then you learn it purposely. So what happens is that people don't know that they are doing systematic comprehensible input in immersion. Why? Because they do it with anime, which is another point. You can actually pick anime, right? You can actually pick anime and do systematic comprehensible input with anime. So there's decks in the internet. So maybe if I look right now, I won't. But like maybe if I looked right now, I will find a deck with all of the vocabulary from, I don't know, Shigatsu no Lion or Shigatsu no Lion or My Lion April, I think it was. I don't know. Well, those animes, you will find literally an entire deck with all of the vocabulary that that anime contains. And literally, if you learn all of that vocabulary and you repeat the anime like 10 times, you will learn all of the vocabulary that it's in there very easily. And this is literally systematic comprehensible input, but in a more fun way. Basically, the other option, so you don't have to do immersion with less than 80% of comprehension, is basically just pick a topic, pick whatever thing, and you will create the sentence, you will find the vocabulary that you want to be able to speak at. So there are some things in here which I basically wanted to be able to say about various type of topics. So the topic that I'm saying today was basically about language learning and also about myself trying to record a video in Japanese, right? And so I literally find the sentences that I wanted to be able to say, and I literally put them in here. And now I put, of course, the sentence that is translated into Japanese. I hear them, read them aloud like 10, 20 times, right? And that's how you literally are able to go from like what, 30% to 80 to 90% of comprehension. And this relates a lot with Anki. So you will say, okay, but there's a lot of people saying that Anki is really good. Anki is really good to learn vocabulary or to learn grammar. And in reality, no. The primary problem with Anki is not that it's actually inefficient, because Anki is a really good tool to memorize vocabulary, especially for things like medicine. Especially for things like medicine and other fields in which you can memorize vocabulary, in which you need to memorize vocabulary quickly, is really good. But in order for you to learn vocabulary in language learning, you don't need only to memorize, you need to acquire. And the primary thing with Anki is that first, you don't do that much repetitions of the vocabulary that you're studying. You do lots of repetition of just random vocabulary, reviewing random vocabulary, or all of those things, right? And that's the primary problem with Anki. So in medicine, this is good because you know for a fact that all of the content that you have in Anki is good. But for example, if you are studying from the core to K, if you are studying from the core to K6K Japanese deck, all of the vocabulary that you see here, all of these sentences will not be useful. Why? Because you literally will go to YouTube. So let's say that you're Pedrito right now. You're Pedrito, Juancho, whatever, and you want to go to YouTube. The problem with YouTube is that literally, let's say that you study 30 pieces of vocabulary and you will go to YouTube, and with some luck, you will find like 10 pieces of vocabulary, and that's it. That's the primary problem with Anki. You could kind of counteract this if you make audio files of the vocabulary that you're studying, so you kind of can listen to it and you can review it like whenever you want, which is the thing that you do in systematic comprehensible input. And so at that point, you are not even doing Anki, you're doing already systematic comprehensible input, which is basically the other way that replaces Anki, right? So literally, another thing that happens here is that when you listen to these sentences, you already have the audio of all of these sentences. And so by default, you literally will be able to review it whenever you want, whenever you go to a gym, whenever you take a walk, whenever you go to work. That's why systematic comprehensible input is so much better, and you need to actually just do systematic comprehensible input. Now, there's a thing here, which is that systematic comprehensible input is really hated by a lot of people because they feel like it takes lots of discipline. And I will tell you one thing. You can do systematic comprehensible input as I told you with anime. So just find a deck, which there is, that literally explain every piece of vocabulary of the anime that you're watching, and literally study that deck in Anki. Study like, I don't know, 50 pieces of vocabulary, and those 50 pieces of vocabulary will take you the first 10 minutes of the anime, and then literally you can repeat those first 10 minutes of the anime again and again and again until you memorize those pieces of vocabulary. So basically, according to science, you need like 20 to 30 repetitions of that same of those same 50 pieces of vocabulary for you to be able to put it on your long-term memory, and for you to be able to actually speak the word or speak the sentence, you need like 30 to 40 repetitions of that sentence. And so yeah, it's boring, of course it's boring, but it's the most efficient way of learning a language and not spending like the first 6 months, the first 8 months just wasting your time because you're literally not understanding like even at 80%, right? Of course, I got to like 90% of comprehension by doing Anki. Yeah, 90% of comprehension by doing Anki for like, the first 4 months. I literally did like 4 to 6 hours of immersion. And with that same amount of time, I could be fluent right now. So yeah, that is probably one problem. And the last thing about why the conventional method won't work is that people also say to you that you should study grammar first. And in reality, this is not like that. Why? Vocab is the most important thing for you to be able to have comprehension in the language. And if you have, let's say that you have 2,000 words, but you don't have any grammar, what will get you actually the most comprehension? Is it the piece of grammar, or is it the vocab that literally describes that situation you are watching? Of course, it's the vocab. And so if you have 2,000 pieces of vocab, of course you will be able to have more comprehension quicker. And 2,000 pieces of vocab doing systematic comprehensible input, either with spreadsheets, which I explain how to do this in other videos, or you can even do systematic comprehensible input with anime, which is something that this other guy doesn't really talk about, which is Michael, which is the person from which I literally grabbed this method. He literally does it just with pure spreadsheets, but he literally found that you can literally do systematic comprehensible input with anime. You can do systematic comprehensible input with Japanese drama, which is one thing that I explain inside of my course if you want to be able to do that and actually have lots of progress while actually having some kind of fun. I mean, it's more fun than just doing a spreadsheet, but it's less fun than just watching the anime. Now, the thing with this is that you replace systematic comprehensible input with your Anki, and by doing this, you will get to that 90% of comprehension super quick. And when you get to that 90% of comprehension super quick, that's when you can start immersing in more type of natural content, which will take you with systematic comprehensible input like 2 months. And I'm probably giving you too much time. If you put like 2 to 3 hours, you will literally get to 90% of comprehension in one input, either with anime or with spreadsheets, doesn't matter. And so for that, you need to study more vocab. You don't need to study more grammar. That's what you need to do if you want to reach that level of comprehension quickly. And whenever you have vocab, you literally will see so many times the same piece of grammar that you will say, oh, that means that, and that's it. And literally, if you want to be able to speak that piece of grammar, you literally just need to see the sentence. So for example, I have here the sentence. If a foreigner doesn't use keigo, so 外国人が敬語を使わない場合, and then you literally start saying it, and you will notice, oh, ga is a piece of grammar, o is another piece of grammar, and for example, yattemo is another piece of grammar. So you will say, oh, I saw this same piece of grammar in this same 10 sentences, and it literally means the same thing. Oh my god, will it be that difficult to understand that piece of grammar if you have like all of the vocabulary already? If you understand all of the vocabulary already inside of that piece of grammar, of course, it will fucking not be difficult. So yeah, that's it for the video, and I hope that you understood why this fucking shit method of doing immersion will not work for you.